G'day YouTubers, I will preview this week's round of the AFL games. Before I start, it will be muchly appreciated if you can subscribe, comment and like. Every subscriber will be very much appreciated. Alright, let's get the show started. Let's go! Yeah! The summary of my tips for round 16 are: I tipped the Lions to beat the D's. Yeah, got that right. Good start. The second game, I tipped the Doggies to beat the Kangaroos. Woohoo! 2 from 2. I tipped the Swans to beat Fremantle. Incorrect. Rio gave Sydney the hee-ho. I tipped the Magpies to beat the Suns. Incorrect again. The fifth game, I select the Bombers to beat Geelong. No good. Geelong too good for Essendon. The next game, I tipped the Giants to beat the Crows. The Crows were just too good. Unfortunate. Another one wrong. The first game on Sunday, I tipped the Saints to beat the Power. Damn it. The Power won by 1 point. I got Carlton to beat Richmond. Woohoo! And the last game, yeah, Hawks beat the Eagles. In summary, I only selected 4 out of 9 correct. My total in 2024 season is 86. My Brownlow votes after round 16 for the leaderboard are: in first spot is N. Dacos, Collingwood with 23 votes. In second spot is P. Cripps, Carlton, 22 votes. And in third spot is I. Heaney, Sydney with 21 votes. These are my top 3 for the Brownlow votes after round 16. First game on Friday night is between Collingwood and Essendon. The players in the mix for the Collingwood Magpies are Allen, Johnson, McInnes and Vital. For the Essendon, their players in consideration are Setterfield and Shield. The players injured for the Maggies are McCready, Elliott, Myercheck, Mitchell, Cox and McStay. For the Bombers, their players that are injured are Parrish, El Hawali and Baldwin. If we compare the ruck midfield setup of both sides, in ruck you got Darcy Cameron against Draper. I expect Draper to slightly have the edge over Cameron with his physicality. Cameron is a good tap ruckman. In midfield, you got the class of Nick Dacos against Durham. I'll give the chocolates to Dacos. Then you got the hard inside Lipkinski against Thursma. Thursma's more on the outside, and I expect Lipkinski to have more of an impact against Thursma. Jack Cripps against Merritt. Merritt finds so much of the ball with his aerobic endurance, so I'll give the chocolates to Merritt. And the class Penderby against Caldwell. Caldwell is starting to show why he was second top 10 in the Super Draft from 6 years ago, but Penderby got one of the best football IQs in the AFL league. So I expect Penderby to outsmart Caldwell. Looking at that, I give the edge to the Collingwood's ruck midfield setup. And this game was very hard to tip because Collingwood lost last week to Gold Coast, just less than 10 points. And the Bombers struggled against Geelong and lost by 45 points. Therefore, based on the ruck midfield setup and Collingwood's advantage of the class players that they have, and also I didn't mention that DeGoey came back last week and there's another midfield rotation, I'm going to select Collingwood to win this game. The next game is between North Melbourne and Gold Coast. Players in the mix for the Roos are Hardeman, Stevenson, Thursma and Lowe. For the Suns, their players in the mix are Davies, Walter, Atkins and Bironi. The players injured for the Kangaroos are Dawson, Goda and Coleman Jones. The Suns will be missing King and Weller. Last week, Kangaroos lost to the Doggies and the Suns had a good win against Collingwood at home. North Melbourne has been playing well in the last few weeks and could have won more games. Gold Coast have a magnificent record at home. They haven't lost at home. However, they have not won a game on the road, and this will be a true test. If we compare the ruck midfield setup of both sides, you got Xeri of the Kangaroos against Witz, even though he was having a back injury against Collingwood last week. I'd still tip Witz to win the hit-outs with his size and hit-out strength. Then you look at the midfield, the powerful David Shinyaki against Anderson, who's great on the outside. I give the chocolates to David Shinyaki. Then you got Scott against Rao. Rao, one of the best contested midfielders right now. I expect Rao to dominate against Scott. Then you got Tucker against Miller. Tucker's more outside. Miller is more inside, but can also go outside and can tag. So I'll give the advantage to Miller. And young Wardlaw in his second season against Sam Flanders. Flanders is a accumulator of the ball, and I'll give the edge slightly to Flanders. Based on theirs, and the Kangaroos have been doing well in the last month, I'm expecting Gold Coast to finally win on the road, and they're due to win away. And therefore, I'm going to just tip Gold Coast just in this game and get their first away victory for season 2024. The next game is between Port Adelaide and the Western Bulldogs. The players in the mix for the Power are Rioli, McEntee, and Evans. For the Doggies, their players in the mix are Harms, Poulter, and Caulfield. The players injured for the Power are Marshall, Powell Pepper, and Dixon to suspension, whereas the Doggies will be missing to Henderson, Dreyer, Vandermeer, and Bailey Smith. Last week, the Power just beat St Kilda, and the Doggies beat North Melbourne. This one's going to be a hard game because both teams are super unpredictable, and the Power just snuck over St Kilda, and before that they lost 3 games in a row. If we compare the ruck midfield setup of both sides, you got Vicentini in ruck against English. I expect English to totally dominate against the Power ruckman. Then you got Butters against Bontempelli. Butters is more on the outside, whereas Bontempelli, top 5 midfielder in the league, great inside and can kick goals. Give the chocolates to Bontempelli. Rosie against Treloar. Both are pretty quick outside players. Rosie has been hammered with a hamstring injury, so I'll still give him the edge just over Treloar. Then you got inside hardball Wines against inside hardball Liberatore. Say Liberatore just get the advantage over Wines. And then you got William Drew, who's also hard inside player, against McRae, who's a similar type of player. Say that's even between the two. I give the edge slightly just to the Doggies. And if we compare the two sides, it's pretty even round the ground. The Bulldogs have got good forwards, or slight advantage to the Bulldogs, of Norton, Darcy and Ugo Hagel. The Power have 3 young forwards in Marshall, Lord and Georgiadis. However, after the performance that Port had 2 weeks ago against Brisbane when they lost by 7+ points, I'm expecting the Power to play a lot better at home, and I'm going to just tip the Power just to win by a goal with this game. The next game is between Geelong and Hawthorn. What a game. This is played at GMHBA Stadium. Players in the mix for the Cats are Arthur, Closey and Stanley. For the Hawks, their players in the mix are Lewis, Ward and Sarong. The players injured for the Cats are Wiltshire, Cam Guthrie and Hawkins. The players injured for the Hawks are Sicily, Blunt and Butler. Last week, Geelong beat Essendon by 45 points and the Hawks won pretty easily against West Coast at Optus Stadium. If you compare the ruck midfield setup on both sides, for the Cats, you got De Koning against Meek. I expect Meek to slightly have the advantage over the 2 players. Then in midfield, you have Holmes against Newcombe. Holmes is very good on outside speed. Newcombe more in and under midfielder. Say we give the advantage to Holmes. And then you got Henry against Weddle. Both pretty good young players, and I'll give the advantage to Weddle. Then you got the experienced Duncan against Warpel. Warpel, a very strong contested inside mid. Duncan is more on outside, but is a veteran at this stage of his career. So we give the advantage for Warpel. And you got young Clark against Mackenzie. Mackenzie is pretty good on the outside, and I tip Mackenzie to get the chocolates over Clark. Therefore, I'll give the Hawks advantage in the midfield and ruck. However, given that the game is played in Geelong in a very small, narrow stadium, Geelong just know how to play at home. Even though they lost a couple of games at home this year to the Giants for Power, I'm still expecting them to end Hawthorn's winning streak, and I will tip the Cats to win this game. The next game is between GWS Giants against Carlton on a Saturday night. The players in the mix for the Giants are Cadman, Heatling and O'Halloran. For the Blues, their players in the mix are Binns, Carroll and De Koning. Players injured for the Giants are Bruce, whereas the Blues will be missing Martin, Cottrell, Kennedy, Doherty and Sawani. Last week, the Giants were disappointing and lost to the Crows, and the Blues beat the Tigers on Sunday. If you compare the ruck midfield set both sides, in ruck you got Briggs against De Koning. Briggs is good with the hit outs, so is De Koning, but De Koning is more athletic around the ground and he can gather a lot of possession and assist midfield. So I'll give the slight advantage to De Koning. In midfield, you got the midfield bull of Tom Green, big body tall midfield, against Cripps, who's a big body tall inside mid. Cripps is top 10 midfield in the league, therefore I'll tip Cripps to have the advantage over Tom Green. Then you got Josh Kelly against Sarah, both good outside runners. Kelly has a bit more class on the outside. The slight advantage I'll give is Kelly. Then you got hard inside Ward against Hewitt. Hewitt has good disposal, and I'll slightly give the advantage to Hewitt as he can make Ward pay with his disposal. And then you got young Finn Callaghan against Walsh. Walsh, one of the best runners in the league, can run up and down all day, assist with goals and kick goals himself. I give the advantage to Sam Walsh. Therefore, the Blues have an advantage in their ruck midfield. And given that they've got advantage in the ruck midfield, the more inside 50 they give to their forwards of Curnow and McKay, they're going to make the Giants pay, given that their best defender, Sam Taylor, is injured. Therefore, I'm going to tip Carlton to win this game. The next game is between Freo against Richmond. The players in the mix for the Dockers are Abner, Brody and Cox. For the Tigers, their players in the mix are Cumberland, Coulter and Dow. The players injured for the Dockers are Odishaw, Walters, McDonald and Corbett. The players injured for the Tigers are Pickett, Ross, Maurice Rioli, Gibcus, Lurfu and Martin. If we compare the ruck midfield setup of both sides, you got Darcy or Fremantle against Nankervis. Darcy is a good young midfield. I'm at ruckman, and I expect him to dominate against the veteran Premiership player Nankervis. In midfield, you got Young against Taranto. Taranto is good inside and is pretty reasonable on the outside, but Hayden Young, one of the best kickers in the league. So we give the advantage to Young. Then you got Sarong against Prestia. Sarong can just run all day. Prestia is a former Premiership player, and with his injuries and all that, I give the choice to Sarong, given that he's super fit and can take advantage of his endurance. And then you got Brayshaw against Baker. Baker's a good young player, but Brayshaw is just in his peak right now, and I expect Brayshaw to get the chocolates over Baker. And then you got the gun, Nat 5, who is still contributing well to Fremantle against young Ralsmith. 5 has been doing pretty well, so I'll give the chocolates to 5 over Ralsmith. And looking at that, Fremantle has advantage in the ruck midfield setup. And if they can provide enough inside 50 to Amos and Tracy, they're going to score a lot of goals. And given that the game is played in West Australia out of the same, and Fremantle had a magnificent win against the Swans by 1 point, and Richmond lost to Count by 10 plus goals, I'm going to tip Freo to beat Richmond. The next game is the first game on Sunday between Melbourne and West Coast. The players in the mix for the Demons are Jefferson, McAdam and Fullerton. The players in the mix for the Eagles are Luke Edwards, Cully and Gaff. The players injured for the Demons are Melksham, Spargo, Hunter and Petraka. The players injured for the Eagles are Waterman, Flynn, Bazzo, Hewitt and Long. If you compare the ruck midfield setup on both sides, you got Gawn in ruck against Bailey Williams. I expect Gawn to dominate. He's an All-Australian ruckman and is one of the top 3 ruckmans in the league. In midfield, you got Oliver against Gimby. I expect Oliver to dominate against second-year player Gimby. Oliver can go inside and outside. And then you got Viney against Kelly. Kelly of the Eagles will dominate on the outside at Viney, but Viney is very good on the inside and the contested and stoppages. So Viney can feed inside and get to Oliver to go outside. Say Kelly just has a slight advantage over Viney. Then you got Rivers against Jay Williams. Williams is a good midfield and I expect him to dominate against Jay Williams. And you got Sparrow, who's an inside-outside midfield for the Demons against young Chesser. I expect Sparrow to dominate against Chesser. Sparrow is a Premiership player for the Demons. Based on this, and given that the injuries that West Coast copped on the weekend, with Waterman suffering an injury, and Oscar Allen only playing his 2 games so far, Both teams have some slight disadvantage in their forward line. West Coast got the key forward of Oscar Allen, whereas Melbourne are still experimenting their forward line with Hetty and Ranroin. Ranroin is going to be a good forward, but he's only been the assistant for 2 to 3 years and still developing. However, given that the game is played in Melbourne at the MCG, I'm going to tip the D's to win this game. The second last game of the week is between St Kilda and Sydney. The players in the mix for the Saints are Philippou, Garcia, Jones and Stocker. The players in the mix for the Swans are Roberts, Fox and Reid. Players injured for the Saints are Hayes, Howard, Dow and Hill. The players injured for the Swans are Mills, Shedrick, Cunningham and Parker to suspension. If you compare the ruck midfield set for both sides, in ruck you got Marshall against Sydney's Grundy. I'll give the slight advantage to Grundy. He's returning back to his former All-Australian career best performance. Then in midfield you got Ross against Jordan. Jordan is pretty good on the inside with his power, and I'll give the advantage over to Jordan. Then you got Steele against Rowbottom. Steele's a great inside midfielder and power at stoppages. Rowbottom is outside but can also play a bit inside, so we just give the chocolates to Steele. Then you got the tagger Winhagen against Chad Warner. Winhagen is very great at tagging. Chad Warner very good with his aerobic endurance. And if Philippou does return, say we've got Philippou in midfield against Gordon, both left footers. Philippou is a second year player and doing pretty reasonable, even though he's been playing in the reserves, but he has so much talent. However, he's going against Gordon, one of the best two-way runners, best midfield or one of, with his elite kicking, top 5 kicker in the league, can just hit targets from the midfield to the forward 50. Therefore, I'm going to give the advantage to the Swans ruck midfield setup, and therefore, given that the Swans will have more inside 50, they've got so much class up forward with Papley, Haywood, Ainley, even got Logan McDonald to take the contested marks. I expect the Swans to beat the Saints. The last game of the week played at the Gabba. It's between Brisbane and the Crows. The players in the mix for the Lions are Lyons, Pryor and Robertson. The players in the mix for the Crows are Pedler, Philthorpe and Smith. The players injured for the Lions are Ainsworth, Gardner, McCarthy, Coleman and Dode. The players injured for the Crows are Worrell, Crouch, Parnell and Miller. Last week, the Lions had a close win over the Demons, whereas the Crows beat the Giants. If you compare the ruck midfield setup of both sides, for Brisbane, you got McInerney against O'Brien. O'Brien can win the hit-out. However, McInerney has been playing some damage around the ground. He's even contributed by kicking goals. He kicked 3 goals against the Power and he kicked the goal against Melbourne last week. I'm going to give the advantage to McInerney in ruck. In midfield, you got McCluggage against Dawson. McCluggage is very good on the outside, can run all day. Dawson, one of the elite kickers in the league with his magnificent kicking boot. I'll give the advantage to McCluggage. Then you got Neil against Laird. Both players are inside, but Neil adds more goal kicking in comparison to Laird, so I'll give the chocolates to Neil. Then you got Dunkley against Saligo. Saligo is a good young player, but Dunkley is a proven premiership player who gathers a lot of contested possessions. And then you got Jared Berry against Sam Berry. Sam Berry of the Crows is a good inside midfield, whereas Jared Berry is more cleaner on the outside, but can also find the ball inside. And I'll give the advantage to Jared Berry of the Lions. Both are not related to each other. Therefore, the Lions ruck midfield will provide more inside 50s to their forwards, where you got Danaher, Hitwood and Cameron kicking the goals. And I'm going to tip the Lions to beat the Crows. My summary for round 17 are Collingwood to beat the Bombers, the Suns to finally get a away win against the Kangaroos, the Power to beat the Doggies, the Cats to beat the Hawks and stop the Hawks winning streak, the Blues to beat Giants, Rio to beat Richmond, Melbourne to beat West Coast, the Swans to beat the Saints, and the Lions to beat the Crows. Thank you for watching my video. If you like my channel, please subscribe, comment and like. Every subscriber is very, very much appreciated. Hope to see you again next time. Cheers!